Hi, welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. It is Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Started to say the date because every day is a new challenge. Every day brings us a new possibility and a new opportunity to see how crazy politics is. When we come back, Justin Trudeau gets ambushed.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please smash that like button. Hate to say it every day, but you have to in this business. Let's beat the YouTube suppression. The last show's still moving. Glad everybody who tuned in to watch that, but it gets more and more suspicious, and that's what we're going to deal with today. This is very, very strange. This whole RCMP news release coming out literally 5 weeks after two people were charged with supposedly making threats, and we're supposed to believe death threats against the prime minister in one case, in the other case against the prime minister, against Chrystia Freeland, against Jagmeet Singh. So it's very strange because why would the RCMP wait this long to issue a news release about this, suggesting that Justin Trudeau's life is in peril? And you can watch this more about this on Redacted tonight. I'm on tonight talking about this with Clayton Morris, and I underline the point that what kind of idiot, if he was serious about any kind of assassination attempt, would go on social media and announce he's about to do it, knowing full well that social media is monitored by the police. And this sort of thing is going to be reported by somebody, probably the Liberals, yes. So why would you do that? I'm beginning to wonder if this whole episode was contrived. There's nothing more than a media ploy. And what do you bet this gets buried? This gets thrown out in the trial, I really doubt very much as anything will come of this because I think this is a propaganda ploy. I think this is a media relations device. I think that's all it is. Because why? Because this is the question the mainstream media is finally beginning to ask in Canada. And you may recall that I began to ask this question 4 weeks ago. I linked Justin Trudeau's future with Joe Biden's. I said there's a definite connection here because Trudeau had to deal with the aftermath of the Toronto St. Paul's by-election defeat. Safest seat for a Liberal in Canada. It's like a Democrat losing in Brooklyn, in New York City. Couldn't have happened, but it happened. And that, for me, was the equivalent of Joe Biden going through the first debate. Well, the only debate, Trump-Biden debate now, of course. Not like there was going to be a second one at all. But Biden, of course, was destroyed in that debate. And there are those who say it was a surprise. There are those who say it was planned. The way things are going, I honestly believe the Democratic Party set Joe Biden up for that because they have known for 3 years his mental abilities are declining. They knew he was not going to get through that debate. And yet they insisted he go through it so they could find an excuse to get rid of him because they knew he was going to lose big time to Donald Trump. So what do? You get rid of him, and it looks like, well, there's not much we can do about it. And then, of course, when Biden didn't play along with this gag, as he saw it, he insisted he was going to stay. They got tough with him behind the scenes. And so this is what Justin Trudeau is worried about. That the Liberals are going to come after him, just like the Democrats came after Joe Biden. And the Democrats could come after Kamala Harris too, because they don't really want her either. She's a nice transitional phenomena. She's nice there for the meantime until they find somebody who they think can really win. But there you go. I said this 5 weeks ago. There is a linkage between Justin Trudeau's future and Joe Biden's future. Now, finally, the mainstream media is realizing that yes, and this is why Justin Trudeau has gone into hiding. Yeah, he's on vacation, but he's not hiding because when does the prime minister leave and not tell people where he's going? Well, I figured that out. And I think I had I the wherewithal right now to fly out to Tofino. It's quite a trip because I used to vacation at Tofino on Vancouver Island. My hometown is Comox. It's about a 3-hour drive, maybe two and a half now. They might even got it down to two. You got to go down the island highway, then you got to turn on another highway that takes you to the ultimate west coast of Vancouver Island on the coastline of the island. It's beautiful. It's Pacific Rim National Park. I used to go there at the time with my wife and children, and it was a beautiful experience. And you could walk in that beach literally for 5-10 miles without meeting another person. And it's not the warmest beach in the world, but it's got to be the quietest and the most isolated. And you're there with the sea lions and the seals and the whales and the Pacific Ocean crashing against the rocks. And there are days I swear you can see Japan. But of course you can't. But it is a beautiful, beautiful place to go. And of course, Justin Trudeau, yeah, he goes there every year, so it's really no secret. But I give credit, I give kudos to my old friend uh, Keean Bexte, who is with Countersignal now. He was with Rebel News for years, where I knew him, and he was always, well, not always. He famously or infamously got kicked out of a uh, Justin Trudeau news conference because he didn't have parliamentary credentials, because the parliamentary press gallery would not give credentials to Rebel News. In fact, I don't think they still will. And it's very difficult for any independent or new media, or especially conservative media, which most of those categories are, to get parliamentary press gallery accreditation, without which you cannot go to news conferences, you cannot walk into the House of Commons, you cannot sit in the press gallery, you cannot sit in the media room in the basement and do your work, and you cannot go to all of the committee meetings or the news conferences that are scheduled on a daily basis when the House of Commons is sitting. So he didn't have that, and he got kicked out one time, and I actually wrote a story about it for the Daily Caller because I thought, well, the guy's got balls. This is moxie. But here he is again. And before I start this, I've already got a comment saying they think this was staged. Well, I don't think it was staged, even though, and one moron put this up on his YouTube site and I think put the whole thing up, because, and even though Keenan expects you to look at his personal site to see this, and I respected that, because this is his work, and I'm not gonna be a garbage collector, take his work and throw it on my site and say, hey, it's mine now, when this was his. But all of that aside, it's the usual idiocy from my fellow YouTubers who do these things, and I think hurt us all. And I'll say that again. I'm not going to name any names, but you know who you are. You know what you're doing. You know this is all about money for you. So you live with yourself, because I don't know how you do. But anyway, I don't think Keenan in any way, or Keean in any way, tried to stage this, because he's no fan of Justin Trudeau. I can tell you that. That's the one thing. I don't always agree with his stories. I think sometimes he doesn't tell all of the information, but he is certainly no liberal. He's certainly no Trudeau propagandist. And he has shown time and time again he's got the guts, he's got the moxie to go and put a microphone in front of the faces of these big wig, I'm so important Liberal cabinet ministers. And he did this in Tofino. He put his microphone in front of Justin Trudeau's face. And yeah, there was apparently some pushback at the beginning, but no, it wasn't a meltdown. No, it wasn't a meltdown. Trudeau thought about it for a second and obviously thought, well, I don't really want to make this guy a martyr again. I don't want to make him a media hero. So I'll give him 10 minutes. And that's what he gave him. Gave him 10 minutes. Then I think if you watch the whole interview, and I encourage you to go to Keean's site and look at it. But I've got the trailer here, which is very entertaining and gives you a pretty good idea of the questions he asked. And once again, I don't think Keean is in Trudeau's pocket or in any way. This is not staged because it does not make Trudeau look in any way better. But well, nobody else in the country bothered to find Justin Trudeau while he's hiding out like a bloody gangster. I take my hat off to Keean for doing this because we need more journalists to go out and find this bastard and ask him impertinent questions. And we'll find out what kind of questions he likes to answer in a minute, because he went on a YouTube tour, talked to all kinds of other independent media, independent so-called journalists. As long as they're in the same orbit as Trudeau, as long as they're thinking the same thoughts and enunciating the same policies, Trudeau's good with that. Trudeau's fine with that. But anyway, I better bring myself back into the picture. Sorry about that. A little too long. You never leave yourself out of the picture that long. Everybody else tells me that, and I always, because I'm doing this solo, I can't, my producer's not behind me to remind me. I sometimes forget to do that. So my apologies for doing that. Anyway, we're going to show you the trailer for Keean Bexte's interview with Justin Trudeau.
Sorry, sir. I'm done.
I'll just ask you super quickly. Your minister said they're going on vacation. No, don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me.
Then please.
More than any political leader on the face of the earth, Justin Trudeau carefully manages his media appearances. Who's allowed access to him? Who can get into press conferences? Who he'll arrest if they get too close? Who he'll sit down for an interview with?
You had your media advance call the RCMP because I was going to ask questions that you didn't want. I wasn't the CBC, I wasn't CTV, I wasn't Global News, so you had to be arrested, so we came out here.
Following his catastrophic by-election loss in Toronto, the Prime Minister has gone into hiding. He refuses to call a caucus meeting, and his administration is hanging on by a thread.
The line is right here.
Fair. Sure, thank you. Are you looking for a replacement right now?
No, I am absolutely not. I am running in the next election.
Are you concerned at all about your poll numbers?
No, I am not.
What causes you to not be concerned?
After reviewing open source information and discerning the whereabouts of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's plane, we realized he was in hiding in Tofino. The mainstream media was calling it a vacation, but we knew where he was, and we knew that this was the only opportunity we'd have to get questions answered.
Mark Hollins.
Okay, once again, I don't think that was a incredible revelation to discover he was in Tofino. I knew that too. And I think anybody who understands the Prime Minister's annual itinerary and his habits could guess when he says, I'm going to BC, he's probably going to go to an isolated part of the province like Tofino.
Said that going on a road trip is equivalent to setting the world on fire.
You can take a summer fun time vacation where you're locked in a car for 10 consecutive days, nonstop with no back.
Do you remember when we featured this? I did a story on this for the Post Millennial and featured this on my X site. I thought this was a classic moment of liberal idiocy, insanity.
Bathroom breaks, and the Conservatives have a plan for you to have that summertime fun. And the cost? Give up the future of the planet.
You chartered a government jet to here, to Tofino. I'm not going to do the math on how much carbon that burns.
Shockingly, We had a 13-minute conversation with the Prime Minister on a beach. For the first time, perhaps, in his entire political career, he didn't lean on the police to stop a journalist from doing their job. This full interview is available at thecountersignal.com for newsroom insiders. 13 minutes, unaltered, unedited, conversation with the Prime Minister, asking questions that the CBC would never dare to ask.
What shampoo do you use?
Do you see any similarities between yourself and Joe Biden's current political situation?
No.
Please support the work that we are doing by becoming a newsroom insider so that we can do more of this, so that we can ask the questions the mainstream media refuses to.
Okay, here's my question. And I don't know if anyone else has even thought, I know some people out there who are talking about this video don't think past the screen in front of them. But here's my question. This happened literally within hours of this happened literally like within 12 hours of that. So can you tell me why Trudeau would not enforce his usual degree of security? I mean, he's had this same guy booted out of news conferences, told to get away from the perimeter. He's had security guards jostle him. He's had his arms tied behind his back by parliamentary security and removed. Why did the security on the site not insist that he get out of there when Justin Trudeau had just had what the RCMP are describing as death threats, an assassination threat? This is what Trudeau's trying to say. On the one hand, hey, I'm just like Donald Trump. There's people out there who want to assassinate me. Two of them. One of them's from Calgary, the other one's from Edmonton. And they went to social media and talked about it. So, of course, Justin Trudeau is in touch with his press handlers. So why does he allow Keean to get on the beach? And they obviously saw him coming. And they keep Trudeau pretty isolated. And they allowed him to come within 10 feet, 5 feet, right next to him. And then they allow him to conduct the interview. Could it be that Justin Trudeau saw the opportunity to use this interview, which he really didn't want to do, but he figures he can use to his advantage? Because I predict you're going to see a different kind of Justin Trudeau for the rest of the summer. This is what this video reveals to me. I haven't heard anybody else say this. No, it's not because I'm so damn brilliant. It's because I've been around politics and politicians for most of my adult life. I know how phony politics are. I have seen political figures, political leaders, praise each other on stage, gush over each other, say how wonderful the other person is. 5 minutes later, get into a heated argument, calling each other names when the cameras are not on. And that's what really blew me away about politics. It is the most hypocritical game in town. And it's all about pretending. Pretend you're happy when you're blue. That is exactly what politics is. It's always about pretending there's a separate reality. And I predict Justin Trudeau will let this interview go through because he wants to use it as an example of the new Trudeau, who doesn't fear Keean Bexte or Rebel News or David Crayden or the True North or anybody who's doing independent or new media, because he's the desperate man. He's a desperate man, and he is refashioning his image this summer, and that's what this little incident was all about. And I don't know how much coverage this is going to get. Mainstream media has ignored it. But that doesn't matter because it's an indicator of where Justin Trudeau is headed, media relations wise and politically. And that's what is significant about what happened here. If it was staged by Justin Trudeau, not Keean. It was Justin Trudeau allowed this interview to occur because he wants to use it and exploit it for his own political purposes and propaganda. That's what this is all about. Because here's what Justin Trudeau was doing immediately before this. And I'm not showing it all. It's excruciatingly awful to watch.
Most people call me Prime Minister.
Prime Minister JC, the bags come half full now, and they're double the price. I mean, my grandfather fought in World War II. What did he fight for if not this?
I don't know what to do with that.
I really actually just need my potato chip prices down, so if you know what I mean. Maybe this will sweeten the deal, this little crispy boy.
I think you need to keep that.
All right, this is a interview he did with one of Canada's mega YouTube stars. And no, I can't remember her name because I never watch her and I really don't care. But Trudeau did a little tour of all these YouTube sites where he thought he could get his message out. And this is the result.
What'd you say his name was again?
Wilfrid Laurier.
Yeah, I'm never going to remember that.
Listen, we're doing all sorts of things around the economy, around interest rates, around inflation.
I have a thought. What if you just let the air out?
Are you up to speed on the changes we've made to the capital gains tax?
Yeah. The capital gains, gains their capital, obviously.
Capital gains are profits made when people sell properties or stocks, and they accrue a lot of benefits.
Oh, it's like a rich person thing. Yeah. Oh my God, I thought I was an idiot.
No, if you don't know what they are, then they don't apply to you.
No, I'm a millennial. We don't have any money, but what we do have is a lot of heart. And I added that to the experience section of my resume, just below my fine arts degree, which has come in handy.
Well, thanks so much, Julie. My team will be in touch.
Wait. I have a few more ideas I think you're going to find really interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so I heard from Bert that you were giving a bunch of money to the provinces for housing.
Yep, we're putting money on the table with big strings attached for ambition.
But I also heard some of the provinces aren't taking it. So here's what I think. You cut out the middleman. You give me how much is it?
Well, it's $5 billion for infrastructure.
You give me the $5 billion, and I will spend at least half of it on housing of sorts.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
You don't have to decide right now.
Okay. Last question. What would you say are your greatest weaknesses?
Oh my gosh, probably just that I work too hard. I'm too detail-oriented. I don't miss a beat.
So, for example, you know about the Canada carbon rebate?
Do I? Yeah, I do. I know that. I have thoughts on it, but I would love to hear yours.
The Canada carbon rebate is the money we return to Canadians for the price on pollution. It's revenue neutral, and it puts more money back in your pockets for 8 out of 10 Canadians.
8 out of 10 Canadians. I was just... That's so funny. I was just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's hilarious. I have a question. I have a friend who actually hasn't filed her taxes in 8 years. No, would she still get that rebate?
She should really file her taxes.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell her. Also, follow-up question. If she also, same friend, bought an item and put it in, I don't know, like a YouTube video of hers, would that item be a tax write-off?
I know it's excruciating.
Well,
to watch,
Julie,
folks,
this has been
I want to get to the end.
Wait. I know I am not the most qualified candidate. I'm not the most knowledgeable. I didn't know who the old white guy was on the $5 bill.
Wilfrid Laurier.
Bless you. But what I do have is heart. I want the best possible future for the next generation of Canadians, and I want to do whatever I can in my power to make that a reality.
That's commendable. It kind of reminds me of myself.
It's probably the chiseled cheekbones and flawless hair.
Sure. Listen, what would you recommend that I do to keep the country on the right track?
Well, whatever you do, don't do one of those tacky media tours where you hit up every podcast and YouTube nobody. It just reads as desperate.
Desperate. And that's exactly what Justin Trudeau is. And I think, in some strange way, what she said there got through to him. He realized this was a desperate, desperate move to go around on YouTube stations pretending to be what? This understanding prime minister. Remember, this is a man who's never done anything in his life except drama. And that includes his years as prime minister. His last 9 years as prime minister have been a massive role for Justin Trudeau. This has been a dramatic performance. That's all this is about. And so this is why he's going on playing this role in these YouTube stations. And I think he played a role yesterday in that video with Keean. I think this is all about playing a role. But you know what? One of the first things when I first worked in Parliament Hill, and I'm upfront about this. I worked for members of Parliament, beginning with the Reform Party, which morphed into the Canadian Alliance, which eventually became the Conservative Party of Canada. I did that for many years. Not, it was something I did after I left the military the first time, because I thought I could make a real difference by working with principled MPs. And the first MP I worked for was very principled. But I remember him telling me, he said, politics is a blood sport. And if you're in politics, you have to be prepared to take the worst from not only your political enemies, but your political colleagues. And it's not only a blood sport, it is a masquerade where people will pretend to be your best friend on Monday and knife you in the back on Tuesday. I never forgot that. I never forgot that, because as much as you know that and you understand that, you comprehend that as a hard-fisted, hard-skinned, tough-skinned journalist or parliamentary staffer who really wishes they weren't there anymore. When you see the raw hypocrisy, the raw game showness, the raw bad reality show that politics is, it's still shocking, because it's hard to believe that human beings can be that mendacious, can be that deceptive, can be that oblivious to truth. But before I go, I want to show you this clip, and you've probably seen it, but if you haven't, this is classic. This is Kamala Harris's first appearance as the Democratic nominee, presumptive nominee. And she claims she's got the support now, even though she hasn't received a single vote from anybody to be the next Democratic presidential nominee. Joe Biden got those votes. But now she's just going to take them all over, and she's going to be the Democratic nominee. Well, I don't really believe that's going to happen. I think that's the plan right now for this week. And wait for next week. Plan B is coming. But in the meantime, they've got to do something about poor Joe Biden, who God knows might be dead. We've heard this, that he was seriously sick when he was in Las Vegas, had to be medevaced to Delaware to his doctor in his hospital. We don't even know if he's functioning right now. We don't know if the guy who got into the Air Force One plane yesterday was an actor made up like Joe Biden, because he didn't say anything. And this is very telling. This is her appearance, and Joe is on the phone, and Kamala Harris is gushes over Joe Biden. We love you, Joe. We love you so much. The voice of our president. And it's sickening. It's just excruciatingly awful to watch. But is this Joe Biden? Is this a recording of Joe Biden? Because Kamala Harris at one time says, she says recording, and is it AI? A lot of people say it is. I'd like to hear your opinion on it. But tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Joe Biden is apparently going to be making an address to the nation. Will that be live or recorded? If it's recorded, we really won't know. And if it's live, is that another attempt by the Democratic Party to show Joe Biden needs to step down as president now, not just as a nominee, but needs to step down as president because he's so incompetent? Or will we have an actor up there? Will this be AI, artificial intelligence? But listen to this because it's so bad.
Mr. President, thank you for calling in today. Over to you.
Julie, if I didn't have COVID, I'd be sitting there with you, standing there with you. I'm so proud of what you've all done. And that this COVID has keep me out of people's hair for the next 3 or 4 days. But I'm going to be on the road, and I'm not going anywhere. I know yesterday's news was surprising, and it's hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do. I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to come on. And I want you to know, I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged. I've got 6 months left of my presidency. I'm determined to get as much done as I possibly can, both foreign policy and domestic policy. I'll be doing whatever Kamala wants me or needs me to do in addition. So let me be real clear. We're still fighting in this fight together. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to know you've always had my back, and I promise you, I will always have your back. And I'm anxious for you all to hear from Kamala. So thank you, Julie. You're the best.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And everybody here does.
It's mutual.
You were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching the kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just too much to watch. We love you. I love you. We're watching your kid. We love you too. Oh. Yes, politics is a lot about acting a part, lying to people constantly, pretending you're something you're not. And in this instance, we see Kamala Harris, perhaps the most incompetent vice president ever to hold that position. Really overacting, just going over the top. All she has to do is sort of give a nod of approval to Joe Biden. But what does she do? She just pretends she is in love with this man. He's an historical figure. He's a demigod. He is just so important to American consciousness. And she's just so gracious. And she has so much gratitude that she was allowed to be part of the administration. It's sickening, but it illustrates the gross hypocrisy and mendacity of politics. Now watch what Trudeau, and I say this again, what Trudeau did with Keean Bexte was no meltdown. Keep using that word if you think it gets you clickbait, but it's not what happened. Trudeau is going to use this because he's a desperate man. And his political handlers are looking at any possible way to keep him in charge of the Liberal Party and to keep him in charge in a tyrannical way of Canada. And that's what this is all about. So tomorrow, we're going to find out. Well, you're going to hear my opinion about whether or not that was really Joe Biden giving the address to the nation and whether it was live or Memorex or whether whether this was intentionally done to further discredit Joe Biden. Because the lower Joe Biden goes in the consciousness of the nation, the lower Kamala Harris goes, because they were in this together. She covered up for him. She implemented some of his dirty work. And when she wasn't doing that, she was pretending to be this pep talk speaker. And that's all this is about. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, folks. Thank you so much for watching today. It never is uninteresting, is it? Politics is a fascinating tapestry. And it just keeps getting more and more insane in the days we live in. I tell you, this would never have happened this way, even 20 years ago, maybe even 10. But that's the way things are now. It is a crazy political world. So let's make the most of it. Thanks for jumping on board, stand on guard. Thanks for being a part of the Craydens Right experience. Please support us in any way you can. Subscribe and tell your friends and family that we need your subscription on here, and we need to fight YouTube suppression and Trudeau's censorship, which will continue no matter how he wants to spin this, no matter how he wants to pretend now he's the guy who talks to right-wing journalists. The censorship will continue. Thanks for watching, folks, and God bless you all.